Good morning, everybody. Testing 1, 2, 3. My microphone doesn't seem to be switched off today, which is great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike, and today we are going to go through the death of Bitcoin, the collapse of Bitcoin. We're going to talk about war, oil, the usual types of things. Some people asking in chat if I really do mean the collapse of Bitcoin. And yes, I really do mean the collapse of Bitcoin. I've been making videos all year about the various different legs down that Bitcoin has in the midterms. And I'm going to go through that when we get on to talk about Bitcoin in a short while. The question that was also asked is, should you sell? Which was Alicia has just said, should you be selling your Bitcoin? Not just yet, in my humble opinion. We have a few more days, maybe weeks of upside action before we come down. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Also, we're going to be talking about a lot of X-Files today. I haven't streamed since Tuesday. The Oracle streamed yesterday. He did a 1.5 hour stream about Clawbot, or OpenClaw, I think it's called nowadays. I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin treasuries. We're going to be talking about staked Ethereum ETFs. We're going to be talking about Solana. Now, the article about Solana was how long is it going to stay under $90? And I think we're at $91 today. But we're not talking about wicks up or a day up. We're talking about sustained price action above $90. My opinion, I don't think that's going to happen for a very long time. We're going to be talking about Chainlink again. It's in the news all the time, Chainlink. And there's a really good comparison that somebody made yesterday on Twitter, which I'm going to cover. We're going to talk about XRP, the case against Binance being dropped. And then if we get there, we're going to be talking about Trump dogs, okay? Bear with me. If we get to Trump dogs, you'll find out what they are. If we never get to Trump dogs, I'm never going to cover it again, and I'm never going to tell you what that's about. So let's see if we can get through the show. Now, this is interactive. And the reason it's interactive is in a bear market, traffic vanishes. Everybody goes back to working at McDonald's. We have Danny in chat. Good morning, Danny. We have KB in chat. Good morning. We have Hidden in chat. Good morning. We're at the stage where I greet people individually in chat. That's where we've got to, ladies and gentlemen. Meowfi is in chat. Good morning. Is this a fake pump? No, I don't think it is. Jacqueline is here. Good morning. Who else is here? Alicia, I've just mentioned. Bitcoin Buyer is in the chat. Good morning to you, sir. Prime Universal? Are you a transformer? Prime University. Sorry, I thought you were a robot in disguise there. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things. And of course, we can't avoid the fact that there is a huge war going on right now between Iran and America. So that's the headline at the minute. We've got the bull versus the bear fighting behind me. That's the theme of the show. We are in a really, really sticky situation right now where uncertainty is leading the way. People think that this war is going to last for the next 4 years. Some people are calling it Vietnam. Some people are saying it's going to be over in a few days. I don't believe for 1 minute this is going to last 2 or 3 years. But I didn't believe that the Ukraine crisis would also last. I think now, what are we on? The third year now? So again, everybody can be wrong, but I don't think this is going to last 3 or 4 years. Good morning to Mags is in chat and Leo is in chat. Good morning to you all. I suppose we should start the show by having a look at the price. Let's start off with a little bit of positivity. Like, have that popped up. Perfect. Now, you will see that Bitcoin is over $72,000. I know. It's hard to believe. It will bring a tear to your eye. I'm fully aware of that. But we are nowhere near where we need to be before we get that correction to the downside. And that's what I'm going to talk about when we talk about Bitcoin. But listen, it's nice for everybody to see some gains. If you've been buying Bitcoin at $60,000 to $65,000 dollar cost averaging in, you're up 10% or so, aren't you? So good on you for buying in. Ethereum is at 21.20. Now, as I've said to you many, many times before, we are going to sell our Ethereum, and we are not that far away from where we're going to sell. We're going to sell our Ethereum. 2/3 of our Ethereum is going to be sold in, hopefully, if we're right, in preparation for the next leg down, where we will be buying that Ethereum again. So we're not selling to get out of Ethereum, we're selling to buy back in at a lower price. But I will never take that risk with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is it's my favorite child. Bitcoin is my favorite child in crypto. I'm not going to sell it. BNB is pushing up towards $700. XRP, however, is still around the $1.40 mark. This thing is not moving. I don't know what to say about it. Solana is back at just under $90. Again, it's stuck a little bit like XRP is stuck at $1.40. We'll talk about that. Cardano is starting to make a move up. Probably going to get back towards 30 cents at some point in the near future. Now, Hype. Hype is the one where, if you look very closely, Hype is a day away from flipping Cardano. And that has come as Cardano has fallen. Hype has not fallen anywhere near as much and is now starting to pump to the upside. So expect Cardano to get flipped by Hyperliquid probably today, I would say, because we are not even, well, we are $300 million away in terms of market cap away for Hype. And I could see Hype easily flipping Cardano today. Gainers and losers before we move on. We've got a lot to talk about. Because I haven't streamed on Wednesday or Thursday, there's a lot of X-Files to get through, a lot of things that I want to cover. Trump is up. We're going to talk about that at the end, if we get there. River is up. Potenza, Render, Pi. Midnight is up. There was a midnight airdrop for people who are on Binance. So if you have got BNB, go and check your wallets. You'll have some midnight airdropped. Plenty of gainers. We're not going to talk about them all right now. Far too many on a green day to talk about. We'll be here all day. Ton is down. Decred Canton is down. And that is pretty much it. It's been a good 24 hours. That is all I will say on that. Now, we're going to get a move on. Like I said, we've got a lot to get through. Some of these are quick. Some of these are not quick. If you have questions, ask them in chat. I am a real person. Believe you me, there is no robot or AI machine alive that can possibly replicate what you see in front of you. Now, we might be having a good day, but the stock market didn't have a good day. $1 trillion wiped out of the stock market yesterday. Now, a 1.5% move for Nvidia is billions. A 2% move for Apple, a 1.5% move for Google, Microsoft, Amazon. These tiny fractions of moves are billions and billions of dollars. So when we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin moves 1%. It's what? Not really 7. It's not really a lot, is it? What is it, about 12 billion? It's not really that much. When Nvidia moves, Apple, and when they all combine, this is a big drop. And the question you're probably asking yourself is, why is everything falling and Bitcoin going up? That's the question that you should be asking yourself. But my answer would very simply be, well, everything else was going up, Bitcoin was coming down. So maybe Bitcoin isn't as attached to everything else as people like to make out. It does have the macro effect on it, of course it does, but it doesn't follow the same pattern just yet. Now, the US strategic oil reserves at a 3-decade low, says Axios, again, to try and prop up the oil supply. America is now leading ships through the Strait of Hormuz. There are pipelines, which I believe the Persian pipeline is 5 million barrels of oil a day. It's not the amount of oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. There is going to be a supply shock. Prices are going to go up the longer this continues, but it doesn't mean everybody is suddenly going to run out of oil all over the world all at once. Okay, let me get that right. Russia are doing very well out of this. Saudi Arabia are doing very, very well out of this. There are places that will make more money because the price has gone up. Look at it that way. Now, one thing, and again, the one thing I will say about Dubai is I do think the reputation of Dubai has been damaged by this. And at first, the odd stray drone, the odd stray missile being shot out of the sky, it's one thing. But I think reputationally, over a long period of time, I think it's been damaged. And the reason is that if you're a 20-odd-year-old influencer, you want to go and live in the sun, Dubai is absolutely amazing. Zero rate of tax. It's a wonderful place to be. But it's the Middle East. You are close to a lot of conflict. You're close to a lot of things which can trigger at a moment's notice. And then, of course, the airports get closed down and you can't leave. This can happen everywhere else, of course, but it's more than likely to happen in certain hotspots. And I think that over a reasonably mid-term period of time, I think Dubai's reputation has been hit. We've seen the house price fall. I think it's down about 20-25% right now. And it's all well and good saying, they have this, they have that, they have whatever. I understand all of that. But the reputational damage is still there. If you are a parent of a 20-odd-year-old influencer, you are going to try and convince your child to not be there. That's all I'm saying. Now then, German Chancellor Merz, German federal governments had previously decided to phase out nuclear energy. The decision is irreversible. I regret that, but that's how it is no answer. The thing about growing up is when you have politicians, you imagine your politicians to be geniuses, really, really superpower, intelligent, top-of-the-tree individuals, and they are not. A lot of the time, they're idiots. And they have very low IQs, and they get there because they're a populist. They come on camera and they say to you, we're going to get rid of all these people. We're going to stop you from paying as much tax. We're going to make the health better. We're going to make the roads better. You just vote us in and we'll take over. And if they've got the best PR campaign behind them, they'll win the election. Doesn't make them very good at their job. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is this Chancellor went to China about 3 or 4 weeks ago that I covered on here very, very briefly. And this is showing me a glimmer of hope for Europe. And that's why I'm showing it you, because I do believe at some point the idea of a European superpower will actually come back. They're going to slash red tape. They're going to move to become energy independent. And they are going to look at becoming a more productive bloc. And if it takes Germany not having nuclear power to do that, if it takes Merz going to China to understand just how far ahead the Chinese are of Europe, I think it's a good thing, okay? It's all to do with pendulums. They've recently also voted to remigrate an awful lot of people. Now, whether that is something you agree with or not is neither here nor there, but they voted to do that. So the European Union, which was very, very socialist, very, very open, it's now changing. And for me, I'm not saying they should become right-wing, but I think we need to have a swing back from the left to the centre. America has gone a little bit too far to the right from being very far left. That needs to get back to the centre. And I think centrist politics is the way that crypto wins, because it can coexist with everything else without being used as a tool to bash the other side. Now then, moving on very quickly, according to on-chain data, on-chain data of $500 million market cap. These projects have the highest rises in network growth, new wallets created in the past month. Now, again, I will say this, I say this all the time, these are just indicators. Whether we're covering GitHub commits, whether we're covering certain chains, Solana projects, this is just a finger in the air sentiment check. This is called sentiment. This is a sentiment check. So it doesn't mean these are the best projects to go out and buy. It means these are the projects that are growing on this metric. That's important to understand. Now, Asta is number one, the hype killer. It's not going to be a hype killer. That was a joke. You've got Sky, which was a DeFi protocol. You've got dollars there. You can see the Circle dollar. You can see Syrup is up there as well. You can see Uniswap. You can see ICP up there. So this is interesting because you're starting to see the growth of the stablecoin industry. And somebody said, I don't know if I've actually got the comment. Somebody actually said that they didn't like crypto, but they do like stablecoins. And it doesn't really help us, does it? Now, where are these stablecoin users using the stablecoins? BNB chain. This is above and beyond everything else in terms of usage. The Binance Smart Chain is the one where you are seeing the most monthly unique users. You do have some other interesting facts on there. Tron, I've never been a fan of Tron. it's fast and it's super, super quick and it's super, super cheap. But I've never really covered any projects on Tron, as far as I can remember. Ethereum is up there, Solana, Arbitrum and Base, the usual crowd, are up there. But again, BNB leads the way as far as stable coin usage goes. Now, I didn't realize half of these X files are all actually to do with stable coins. Syrup USDC and Syrup USDC, the total deposits have now reached $2.5 billion. Remember, these are dollar yielding assets. You have $100 of Syrup USDC in your wallet on Binance today. In 12 months' time, for example, you'll have $104.50 worth. It is not a stable coin. It is a dollar yielding asset. It goes up in value. You don't need to stake it. You hold it in your wallet, and there you go. And full disclosure, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see a couple of the logos of the companies that support the channel. Not all the companies, some. Now then, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. I'm sure somebody at Binance has been watching my streams. It's the only reason for this research to have been produced. This is the pre-election drawdown and then the one-year return after the election. Okay? Look at the midterm year. We are currently in the yellow phase of 2026. We have got the black phase of 2026 and 2027 to come. And I've done my own research on this. I've covered this before. Basically, we don't have a good time between now and October. We don't. I don't care about the 4-year cycle. It's irrelevant. Stocks, crypto, and everything is depressed right now. We're going to look at the Bitcoin chart in a minute. I'm going to show you some dates from a previous year. But look at the return after the midterm elections. Yes, you had a reasonably low 2014. Yes, you had a slightly higher 2018. But look at 2022. Okay, there is a trend here where the drawdown is fairly similar, but then the actual uptrend is actually gaining momentum. Now, whether that pans out in 2026, 2027, who knows? Maybe you only get 40 or 50% this year and next. There is a recession on the horizon. Maybe it's not as good as this. But this is visually the best way for you to see where we are right now. Yellow until October, end of October. Black from November onwards. That is simply all you need to see in that chart. And that is simply because we have uncertainty in the market. Is Trump as popular as people say? Is he more unpopular than people say? We're not going to know until October. That's a big thing for us to keep an eye on. Now then, very quickly, I'm just going to check and see if we have had any messages. Good morning to Harshith. I hope you are well. Kazir, I hope you are well. Remember, drop comments in chat. Let me know what you are doing. Let me know how you are, and we will see if we can help you. Now then, 77% of corporate Bitcoin treasury companies are underwater. 65% are down more than 20%. Now, I'm not a fan of treasuries. You've heard this 1,000 times from me, so I'm not going to recite the same thing over and over again. This is to do with Bitcoin treasuries. Now, Bitcoin treasuries are all about timing. So you look at Saylor's Bitcoin treasury, that's been running now for, 3-4 years? Look at the treasuries that started towards the end of last year that were buying at 90,000, buying at 85, buying at 95,000. We're currently at 72,000. They're underwater. And this is to do with the cost base. How much did it cost them to acquire their Bitcoin? So if they were dollar cost averaging in over the last 6 months of 2025, they're probably looking at an average price of about $90,000. So they're now down 20%. In this instance, Strategy has an approximate cost base of 75,863. I'm not sure it's as high as that, but there we go. So they are underwater right now, but not by an awful lot. Metaplanet, however, they've got an average price of $97,000 for their Bitcoin. So they're in the hole for almost 30%. They're 31% below. Semler Scientific has an estimated $65,000 average entry, meaning it remains marginally above water at 67,000. Well, we're not at 67,000 right now, we're at 72. So the issue really here is who's got the appetite to ride out this bear market? Who's got the appetite to see us at $48,000? That's the question. Because if you are looking at Metaplanet, for example, $48,000 means they're down 50%. Now, I do believe Metaplanet will keep buying. I do believe Saylor will keep buying. But then you've got to ask your question, maybe not about Semler, maybe not about the people on the screen. What about the ones that aren't on the screen now? Maybe the smaller ones that only hold maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 Bitcoin. Are they going to capitulate? Because every bear market that I have known, we have had 3 or 4 major moments in time that have shunted us to the downside. And the best example is, let's just go back to 2022. We, of course, had FTX. We had Celsius collapse. We had the Luna collapse. There's 3. Where are the 2 or 3 major events now? Now, clearly, we have one going on right now, which, of course, is the war. That's certainly one. Now, it's not crypto specific, but it's still a major macro event. Are we going to see the collapse of a company? Are we going to see the collapse of a chain? Are we going to see the collapse of a project? So if you look at Optimism, for example, they laid off 20 staff yesterday. That's not really a black swan. The guy who tried to transfer $50 million on the Aave network and then walked away with $56,000 worth of Aave, or whatever it was, $36,000 worth of Aave. Is that a black swan? Not really. So where are the black swans? Where are the projects that have gone bust? They haven't gone bust yet because I don't think we're as far into the bear market as maybe we need to be for them to pop out. You could say miners switching from mining Bitcoin to AI, maybe, but that's not really a black swan either. That's just a pivot. So I don't think we've seen the black swans yet, or we've not seen a black swan yet that's worthy of pushing this price down. Now, the Capriole indicator running from 2022 onwards shows the previous peak in the percentage of treasuries below cost base occurred in mid-2022, early 2023, where Bitcoin went from 69 to 16. At that point, the indicator reached similar elevated levels as today. What followed was a full recovery as Bitcoin climbed back above the cost basis of companies that had accumulated during the 2021 peak. The current reading at 77.4% below the cost base is occurring at a meaningfully higher absolute price than 2022. Of course, it will be, because companies entered at 60 to 100,000. In the past, it was obviously a lot lower. Now, the question, therefore, is, do we see this, the stress test? Do we see that? A leveraged Bitcoin treasury company holding assets 20 to 30% below cost basis while servicing debt obligations faces a fundamentally different risk profile than an unlevered holder sitting on paper losses with no forced liquidation trigger. So not all treasuries are the same. So Strategy has the $76,000 price. He's argued that the Bitcoin per share metric rather than dollar profit and loss is the relevant measure, which is fine. We've seen him talk about his STRC shares, which are still $100. They're not moving. 77% of corporate Bitcoin treasury companies underwater simultaneously is a historical stress reading. And I think it's going to go lower. And I'm going to show you why right now. And this is the collapse of Bitcoin. I've covered this before. I am sure there are other people out there that have different ideas. I'm sure there's lots of other people out there who think 60,000 was the bottom, which is the 60,000 mark is the one that's highlighted on the chart here. Now, what Bitcoin tends to do in a bear market is follow a pattern. And that pattern is very, very straightforward. It breaks the bull market support band, it falls. It retests, it gets rejected, it falls. It tries to recover to a significant price point, and that significant price point can either be a time-based price point, so it gets to a certain price on a certain date, or it gets rejected off a historical price point. Now, what I have done on here is highlight some very key levels. The first one is 74,000. This is where we came to and got rejected very recently, which coincides with Liberation Day, when Mr. Trump came out and said, we are going to basically put 200% tax on everybody. Now, the next level up is more of a, let's call it a psychological level. That's $80,000, which we've used as support in the past. And as you can see here, we absolutely just came thundering through it. We got cascading liquidations that came to the downside. So that's the next level up. And then the final level up, which again, I haven't corrected for a while. This is coming in at about $85,000. So we've got three really simple to see prices. Let's just call it 75. 75, 80 and 85,000 are the three levels that I think we're going to get rejected at. Now, I have highlighted the 10th of April as a finger in the air collapse. It's not set in stone. We can collapse today at 74,000. We get rejected and we come back down. Fine. Okay? Because we're in the middle of March. I've said in my videos, March is where we move up. I've said it. We come down. We get rejected. We come down. We then have another retest. We get rejected and we come down again. Now, the issue is where we come down to. And there is an awful lot of debate right now on where people think we're going to go to. And this is what I'm going to show you. And this is the collapse of Bitcoin. This is what I was talking about in the title. So it's not technically clickbait. It is actually what I mean. And if you look, when Bitcoin goes up, I talk about it going up in steps. Okay? Steps all the way up. Now, why do you have steps? Because when you look at other altcoins that do this, without actually putting in those kind of steps, what do those altcoins do? They kind of just come straight back down. I can show you any pump and dump, and it will have this really smooth rocket to the upside and then a really smooth collapse. There's no price history. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, yes, they have this approach where they go up in steps, and each step supports it on the way down. So you go up those steps, you're going to hit every one of them on the way down. So what Bitcoin does on the way down is it finds not all of the steps, but some of the steps, and it does this. And it follows those steps on the way down to whatever bottom we put in. Now, I have highlighted, I feel like I'm on a cookery show. I was actually talking in chat before. Our views on crypto are so low right now that I'm thinking of starting an air fryer channel. Okay? Putting something in tinfoil, putting it in the air fryer with a title, you won't believe what I've put in an air fryer. Those things, hundreds of thousands of views. You can say, but Mike, would you be happy with that? Absolutely, I'd be happy with that. I'd be a lot richer than I am today. Now, what I've highlighted here is the 2022 collapse. And the reason I've highlighted this is there are three legs down. There is an April leg down, a May leg down, and a June leg down. And each time we have done this. And then we've had a very prolonged period of time where we have treaded sideways until we come out the other end, which is all the way over here. And that's when we start going to the upside. Okay? Now, if we follow this similarly, not saying that we're going to follow it to the date or the word, we have got, and I've only plotted one for now on here. And that is around about April. Maybe it comes at the end of March. Maybe it comes middle of April. We are going to see another leg down. Now, I did work this out, and I worked this out at 40,000, which is not the number I was looking for. I've got 50,000. I think 50,000 is our bottom. Lots of other people say 40,000, which is absolutely fine. But I think 50,000 is our leg down. The video that I made in January had 50,400, but it also had 63,000 in there, which we came down and found a good deal of support at. Now, these are just percentage drawdowns. 50% drawdown is 63,000. 60% drawdown is 50,000. 50,000 is, I think, where we go. And we don't just do this. This is not how a bear market or a bull market works. We didn't do this to get to 126,000, did we? I've just shown you we go up in steps to 126,000. So when we come down, we follow the same pattern. We do steps. We have not bottomed in March of the midterm year when we've still got 6 to 7 months of the midterm year left. So we expect more legs down. Now, maybe, just maybe, this is what we do. And then we bottom, as I've just shown you in 2022, we bottom and we wiggle around here until we get to this line here, which is the end of the midterms. Go back to the chart, remember I was showing you yellow down, black up. From here, we do a recovery from about November. That is how I see this playing out. And I have seen this play out like this in 2022 and 2018. Played out this way. That's how they played out. Now you can see it. Still on the same screen. Where is the chart? What is frying for the Bitcoin chart in the air fryer? There. Right, there we go. Okay. I don't have to go back over and look because it's all drawn on the screen. So, we have the steps going up. We then have the steps coming down. This stays in a similar pattern to this. These are the 3 lines. I'm going to have to go back over it again, aren't I? Because I didn't have you on the screen. I can't believe it. I do that at least once a stream. So, this is the steps coming down. This is the time that we did this in 2022. April, May, and June. That's 3 legs down. I haven't done 3 legs down on my chart because I think probably we've already had one of them. Okay? But I still see maybe we've got 2 more legs down. So maybe the next leg down, maybe we go to 74 and come back to 60. Maybe that's one of the legs down. I'd accept that. But I do think 50, which is these 2 lines here, I do think 50 is going to be seen. I think the last drawdown we had was 77%. I don't think we go from a 77% drawdown to a 50% drawdown at 63,000. I think we can't expect that much of a shallow bear market. So that's why I think a 60% correction to about 50,000, maybe it goes to 48,000. But I think that's where we go either next or the step after. And then I think we bottom at 50,000 roughly before we have our sideways crab for August, maybe July, maybe even September. We crab. And then you're going to start hearing me say, pack your bags in October like I always do. And then we go to the upside. So this is the yellow. Let me draw that properly. This is the yellow zone on that chart I showed you before. And this is the black zone on that chart, which is November onwards. Now, again, we can be out by days. We can be out by a few weeks. I don't really care. There was a period last year or the year before, I think it was last year, where I called a move and I was out by exactly 2 lines. I don't really care about being absolutely 100% accurate with the timing of it. It's the pattern. Now, I'll say this one more time. I don't think for 1 second we bottom in February of the midterm year when we have so much of the midterm year left to go. I don't believe we bottom here when we have this entire expanse of uncertainty to go through with Iran, with the fact that oil prices are going to go up. That's going to put pressure on inflation. That's going to really, really kick Powell in the nuts. And Powell isn't gone for another 2 months. Powell's there till May. So what does Powell do? Does he cut rates? How does Powell cut rates? Answer me that one. He cuts rates. He fuels the market that's already going to be fueled because it's full of inflation. That the point of putting the rates up in the first place was to bring down inflation. If inflation is going to start creeping up towards 2.5–3%, he can't cut rates. So then we have no rate cuts for this period of time either. So what Trump has got to do, in all seriousness, he has to end the war within the next 2 or 3 months. This war cannot go on till September, October. Now, there's already been, I've seen a few comments from Iran have put forward their demands. I think one was reparations, one was a guarantee of no other attacks, and then there was a third one. I can't remember what that was. So they've already put forward their deal, if you like. So I think we're at the stage now where Trump can say they've sunk all the ships. Trump can say they've done this. Iran is a big place. It's a big old place. And they've known this was coming for a very long time. They've prepared for it. You could argue that the lesser of the two countries that were prepared for this was America. Maybe they didn't prepare well enough to think about an elongated battle. I don't know. But we can't really be expecting stock markets to have a good time when they're going to come down in the midterms. Inflation, no rate cuts. And then you're going to tell me that Bitcoin's going to go to $90,000 in the summer. I just don't see it. I'm like a tea leaf reader. It's not in the leaves. There's nothing there for me to say that we're going to the upside. Now, again, if we take all that out of the equation and we just go back to the pattern and say, right, we've got no care about the war. We've got no care about inflation. We've got no care about interest rates. The pattern that we are seeing now is playing out as we saw the pattern in 2022. So the cycle for the Bitcoin 4-year pattern is intact. We put in the Q4 all-time high. We then have the following year, which is the midterm, where we get the correction to the downside. We then come out of 2022, going into 2023 with a little bit more hope. These bear markets that people talk about, I think they've got PTSD from the 2022 bear market, which was horrific, and it seemed to go on forever. But we will come out the other end, and if you're buying Bitcoin and you're worried, don't. Just keep dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. If we start to see these prices down here, just keep buying at these prices. Just keep buying. And if you buy at all of those levels, then your average price for Bitcoin will probably be somewhere in there, which will be maybe about $55,000. So you're going to walk out of this bear market with a $55,000 average price for Bitcoin. If we go to, let's say, 160, 170 in the next bull run, you've 3x'd your money. You've turned your $10,000 into $30,000. I don't know what more you want from Bitcoin because it can't do miracles. It didn't do miracles in this cycle. It got to 126,000, but it got to 126,000 for a bottom of 16,000. Measure it from the bottom to the top. Don't measure it from 69,000. Measure it from the 16,000. And then what did it do? A 7x? Something like that? An 8x? Pretty good. If we go to 40,000 and then we run to, say, 200,000, it would have done a 5x. But the bigger the market cap, the harder it is for Bitcoin to give you the returns that you expect. It's just not possible to do that. Anyway, I suppose we should move on. So, is the collapse of Bitcoin, based on the evidence, likely to happen? Let me know in chat. If you think Bitcoin is going to go to 40 or 50,000, tell me in chat which of those two you think you're going to do. I've got an eye on here. Good morning, Harith. If you've got an eye on here, let me know. Or let me know on YouTube. Let me know. Like, nobody's watching today, by the way, which is really sad because it's actually I'm enjoying this stream apart from the mistake. Now, BlackRock launches staked Ethereum ETF. The TradFi giant iShares staked Ethereum Trust ETF is the first yield-bearing exchange-traded product. This is March the 12th, 2026. For this to have really affected Ethereum, this needed to have been in August last year. It is 6 months late. And in crypto, it's all about timing. And this missed by a long shot. Going live in the bear market is fine. It's a product that's been needed. We're going to need it for Solana. We're going to need it for all of the other proof of stake chains, for Cardano. We're going to need it, yes. But to get that push on Ethereum, to push it higher, it failed us. That it is live. Get rid of that. And again, we don't need to talk too much about the details of it. Basically, they have a different fee structure for this one, and you will earn Ethereum in your ETF. So if you buy $100, after they take their fees, you're going to end up with $102.50 in a year's time. But that $2.50 that you earn will be in Ethereum. So this is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is what we wanted. Now, of course, you're not going to get that with Bitcoin. You are going to get that with Ethereum. You're going to get it with Solana. Is that they have also... where did I read it? I think it was James Seifert said that they have banned leveraged ETFs. Leveraged crypto ETFs. The 5Xs and the 10Xs have been banned. Which I am wholeheartedly in agreement with. I don't believe that is something that we should have. So, that is where we are. It feels like 40 is too low. 55, maybe 50, says Danny in chat. Thank you for the comment, Danny. There aren't many people watching, as I've said. Those of you that are here, I appreciate you. So, we're not going to spend too long on that because we're going to run out of time. We've only got 18 minutes left. We're going to move on. Solana price analysis. How long will Sol remain consolidated to, let's say, 60,000 again? We are going to see a sub $70 Solana. I don't know whether I am disconnecting or not, whether this software is playing up. I'm just keeping an eye on it. Okay. So, Bitcoin moves down to 50 to 60,000. Solana is going to go down to $50. There's no hope for it after that. So in the meantime, between now and then, because that's a couple of legs, maybe it's one or two legs down, we're going to have the relief rally we've been talking about. Now, 60 to 72,000 is a 20% relief rally. I'm thinking 25% minimum. So that brings us to about 75 to 80,000. I think that's a good range for a relief rally. Solana will certainly push up towards 95, maybe even $100 before we get the correction to the downside. So maybe it would be a good idea. I think the Oracle was talking about taking profit from Solana in this relief rally before we move down. And I can't remember what price he said. It was $100 and something dollars, but I can't remember precisely what he said. Probably he'll do it in his video on Saturday. So I think it will remain below $90 on average between now and the end of the year. Don't see any reason for us to come out of that. We do have ETFs. They're not a reason for us to stay above $90. We are dollar cost averaging into our Solana. We've bought it in the $80 range. We've been buying it in the $70 range. I don't know if I bought it at 68 or whether I was waiting for it to come down to 66, but we've been picking up Solana, and this is the coin we're keeping an eye on because we are underweight. That's the most important thing. Our portfolio does not look anything like your portfolio. If you are underweight on a coin, you've probably got 6 months to buy that coin. Wait for Bitcoin to start to capitulate. Ethereum will certainly come down again. You should be looking at your portfolio now and saying, what coin do I need to be looking to pick up? You know, maybe you're 90% Bitcoin and 10% Ethereum. And you're thinking, right, I really need to look at maybe XRP, maybe BNB, maybe Solana. Maybe they're the coins I need to be picking up. Maybe even Hyperliquid. Maybe the coins that I need to pick up, maybe that's those. This is the period of time where you can look at doing that. So you can say, right, I want to end up at the end of 2026, I want to be 85% Bitcoin, 7.5% Ethereum, and 7.5% in, I don't know, Solana. Then you've got this period of time and you say, right, I'm going to be buying between $50 and $80, and that's where the price I'm going to get into Solana. Maybe that's what you do. But for me, how high can it go this week? Let's see what it suggests. $105 and $113. I think that's a pretty good range. And like I said, we've been buying it at 78. So if we bought at 78 and we sold at 113, we've made 50%, I think. So maybe we sell our Solana at that point and we just sit on cash for the collapse to the downside. Who knows? But again, don't expect $200. Don't expect $175. This is not a bull run now. We're in the bear market. Sadly, the bull market petered out into November and we've come down ever since. Now it's a case of, as I've just said, accumulate what you can. Now then, Chainlink leads Solana's most active builders in 2026. We're going to run out of time, aren't we? And this is also incredibly small text. So Chainlink leads Solana's ecosystem development by a wide margin with 275 dev points over 30 days. Alpenglow upgrade targets sub 150 millisecond transaction finality, launching in H1 of 2026. Wormhole's XRPL integrations connects 35 blockchains. Great. And Helium Mobile is quietly becoming a sleeper, hitting 600,000 users with 29% quarter-on-quarter growth. Now, that is great. We don't really care about the rest of them. We care about Chainlink. Now, this interview about Chainlink, which I've put in here, this is such a good analogy that I just had to include it. And this is from Matt Hogan. Now, like, don't get me wrong. Every day, this guy is doing an interview. And every day so far, he's said things that I don't necessarily agree with. Okay? He's ignoring the bear market. He says we're going to go higher. He says this is now the end of the crypto winter. He said a lot of things that I just don't agree with. But this analogy is brilliant. If you talk to the average institutional investor, they've never heard of Chainlink. If Chainlink were a software company in a traditional C Corp wrapper, it would be one of the hottest tech plays in the market. Historically, the best investments were the ones few understood at the time, yet had enormous market opportunities. To me, the information asymmetry around Link is what makes it such an asymmetric bet, I think it's called. So, again, I don't agree with everything he says, but I do agree with this. The problem for Chainlink is people don't understand it. Now, I have called Chainlink the Cisco of Web3 for years now. It is the Cisco of Web3. It is the glue, the oil. It makes everything work. Before Chainlink, we had wormhole vulnerabilities. It was nearly impossible to move funds between one chain or another. Then CCIP came along and Chainlink, and they reinvented the game. They made the game their own. They are partnered with everybody. If there is one coin that we talk about on here that I am more bullish on than anything else, it's Chainlink. And I don't hold a lot. I don't hold a lot of Chainlink. It's maybe I don't even know if it's 1% of my portfolio, okay? But Chainlink is the one. It's the one you need to be looking at. If you look at your portfolio, like we were saying a second ago, and you've got no Chainlink, not financial advice, Chainlink's got to be in your portfolio. The more time goes on, the more this looks like a safe bet. And again, $9. Actually, it's probably not $9 today, is it? What is Chainlink today? 950 maybe? 930. It's still a ridiculously cheap price for Chainlink. Absolutely. So don't think you're buying in too late. Maybe think about buying in over the next 6 months. Chainlink will certainly go to $6 or $7 in a downturn. Dollar cost averaging in at 9, 7, 8, around that price is fine. If you look at where it went in the previous bull run, I think it topped out about what, 25? It topped out about $25, $30. There we go. 26.40 it got to. 26.40 in August. So even if you dollar cost averaged in at, let's say, $7, you're certainly looking at 4x in your money in the next bull run. That would be my bet for Chainlink. Anyway, let's move on. XRP reserves on Binance dropped to lowest level since April 2025, a $3.7 billion drain. This is normally a really bullish sign for tokens, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, or XRP. It's still at $1.40, and it hasn't moved now for what feels like 6 years. But it's only probably been a few weeks. The market pump that we're seeing today might get it to 150, 155, 160. But the longer term, you want to be looking at considerably higher. And considerably higher, I'm talking $4 or $5. I'm not talking $40 or $50. I think XRP is probably getting to the stage now where it needs to look at a higher price. Simply because of the network effect. XRP is with everybody now. It's being used. There are billions of dollars of transactions going across the XRP ledger right now. So I think it's now getting to the point where it's maturing and it's becoming usable. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we couldn't have said that because of the previous administration and everything else. So it's being drained from supplies, from the exchange, supplies being drained. A significant decline in the amount of XRP held on Binance, pointing to a notable shift in exchange liquidity. According to the data, the total value of XRP reserves on the platform dropped to $3.7 billion by March, its lowest level since April 2025. The decline has accelerated in recent days. In a previous update, Binance reserves were estimated at $3.9 billion, indicating that the metric has continued trending downwards over the short period. Historical comparisons, in 2025, early 2025, Binance reserves were above $10 billion. Analysts monitor exchange reserve metrics because they help estimate how much supply is readily available for immediate trading or sell pressure. Again, when you see coins leaving exchanges, that is a sign that the purchasers are not expecting to sell the token anytime soon. That's how I read it. With Ethereum, for example, I think when it went to proof of stake, I think there was a bit of a shock. And I think the proof of stake move by Ethereum forced the likes of Binance into having on-chain staking available through their platform. I think it helped an awful lot. And yeah, again, declining reserves suggest investors are withdrawing assets from exchanges and transferring them to private wallets or long-term storage, sometimes associated with accumulation or reduced selling intent. That's where I think we are with XRP right now. I think it's a token you should be holding on to. If you've bought it at the 30 or 40 cent range, way back when we first started, fantastic. If you bought it at $2 plus, you probably need to hang on to it for a little while before we see a move. Now, I don't know why the block. I don't know why it always wants us to connect our wallet. I don't want to connect my wallet to your news site. Stop asking me. Federal judge dismisses the Binance terrorism financing lawsuit in Alabama, but allows amended complaint. There's a lot of FUD flying around at the minute about Binance, and the majority of it is aimed at them by the Democrats. I don't know why. Maybe it's a CZ pardon. Who knows? But there's been a lot of FUD about Binance. And this isn't the first time they've had to bring a court case. They're actually taking the Wall Street Journal to court, defamation there again, because the Wall Street Journal just publish what they want to publish, get sued, and they lose. And I don't know why they do it, but they do. So I think this is the right move by Binance. I think Binance defending itself in a court of law is the right thing to do. You cannot just say CZ is a scammer and then give a reason for him to be a scammer which is false. You can't say Binance is funneling funds for Iran with no evidence. You can't say stuff like that. I don't care who you are. You'll end up in court and you'll end up going either to prison or losing out by the millions. And I think this is the right thing to do for Binance. Now, don't get me wrong. Listen, if there was another exchange, which we're not going to mention, if this was another exchange, I would be saying the same thing. If it was the Baldy Man's exchange, I'd be saying the same thing. You can't, it's not 2023. You can't just say this stuff about crypto companies and expect it to just follow the crowd. They're going to come after you now. And Binance and another company as well, one more company is being suing somebody. You can't do that. You have to be honest with the people that you are talking about. And, you know, you see Trump suing people, you see Musk suing people, you see Binance suing people. This culture of clickbait and soundbite culture is going to cost you a fortune in a court of law. You can't put a headline up, CZ funds Iran war, or Binance funding Iran war. You can't put that up if you've got no evidence, which is what they're doing. Now, replace CZ with Brian Armstrong, or Chris Marszalek, or anyone for that matter. I'd say the same thing. It just so happens to be Binance being sued. So again, let's hope that the media and traditional finance and the Democrats move away from this childish behavior where they think they can just say something and be immune from repercussions. Now then, we did make it to this. This is Trump dogs. This is what I think they're going to be serving at this event. So we all know about Trump, the token, and Melania, the token, and everything else. And Trump is hosting another exclusive event for meme coin holders. The coin is down. What's the coin down? 88%? Something like that. I think. No, it's down 96% off its all-time high. I remember this being at about $35, and I was saying this was going to go higher on the pump. And then we had Melania, and then we had the other two that came out, and then in the end, it just absolutely ruined Solana for about 6 months. But still, Trump is holding to his word. If you hold enough Trump token, you get to go, and you get to go to Mar-a-Lago, and have a meal with him, or a tea with him, or a Trump dog with him. The event is the second of its kind for Trump holders, and it will invite the top 297 registered token holders based on a time-weighted point system between March the 12th and April the 10th. And there you go. Fight, fight, fight with Donald Trump. The most exclusive crypto and business conference in the world and gala luncheon with President Trump and 18 other superstars. 297 attendees. Are you in? The once-in-a-lifetime experience is said to welcome 18 of the world's most influential superstars. I guarantee Jake Paul, or whatever his call is going to be there. One day, one room, the world's power players, it reads. So there you go. If you held $4.8 million worth of the tokens, you will be going. That was the first one, sorry. Trump's team event holders will need to pass background and security checks prior to earning entry. Eligibility details on the website also indicate that no individuals from KYC watchlist countries or foreign government officials are allowed to attend the event. I'm not going. I don't hold Trump. Bullish Bull is in a signal black spot. I hope you're well. Well, Bullish Bull, you've missed a very, very enjoyable stream. What I will say is that we are really looking forward to the weekend. Now, what What I am going to do, if you give me 1 second, is we have another stream tomorrow. We're going to do a Maple Finance stream, and we're going to be talking about what's happened with Maple Finance in the last 2 weeks. I'm going to be streaming it on Binance Square and YouTube, and I do this twice a month to basically cover the news. So if you're bored on Saturday morning and you want to find out about what Maple Finance are doing, or if you hold Maple tokens, come and say hello. I'm going to be streaming at the same time tomorrow as I am today, which is 11 o'clock. Equipment update. Let's do an equipment update, because there's literally, I think right now, about 8 people watching on Binance Square, if that. So I'm going to do an update for the YouTubey people. We've got our Shure microphones lost in transit. I swear to God, they're lost in transit. They were sent a week last Monday. It's now Friday of the 2nd week, and they haven't arrived. I don't even think they've left Germany. So we won't have the microphones, but the lighting, the new lighting equipment, which is going to make me look 20 years younger, that's arriving next Wednesday. So next Thursday, we will have new lighting. No, next Wednesday night, we will have new lighting for the quiz. So next Wednesday is the quiz. Cool. We are going to bore you to tears about them when we get them. The Oracle is going to bore you to tears with the technical details. But there you go. Anyway, so if you don't join me tomorrow, have a great weekend. I am back on Monday. The Oracle, I think, is also streaming tomorrow. I think you're going to get 2 streams tomorrow from us on a Saturday. Unheard of, I know. So we will hopefully see you then. And I'm going to go and find out why our Binance streams are not being promoted. Not promoted, that's not the right word. We're going live on Binance and there's no notifications going out. And I don't know why. The Oracle stream yesterday got 521,000 views. So far today, we've had 360. Anyway, you have a great weekend if I don't see you. And if you do join me tomorrow, I will be giving a prize to the best question. Take care.